We're talking about The Return of the Living Dead from 1985. Is this movie awesome or awful? We're about to find out. Hey everyone, this is Mike from fearshop.com. Make sure you're liking this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, make sure you're leaving the comments. Do me a favor and smash that like button for me. Let me know what other kinds of videos you want to watch. For today, we're going to break down The Return of the Living Dead from 1985 to find out, is this movie awesome or awful? I will say I'm a little nervous about this one because I'm not sure where I'm going to land just yet. So we'll see how it goes. First thing you should say, Return of the Living Dead was never actually meant to be taken seriously. So you have to take the film with a grain of salt. So John Russo, who assisted with Night of the Living Dead, split away from George Romero. Romero owns everything with Night of the Living Dead, but Russo would win the rights to the Living Dead name. Hence why the Romero films dropped living from their titles for future movies, and they became Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Land of the Dead, so on and so forth. Russo went and wrote the screenplay for Return of the Living Dead, but the film did not become what it became until Dan O'Bannon of Alien fame hopped on board. So in addition to honing the script, he directed the film, and a classic horror comedy was crafted. Even before O'Bannon, Tobe Hooper of Texas Chainsaw Massacre fame was to be the director. But the legal dispute around the Living Dead name took a minute, and by the time everything was resolved, Hooper had left the project. That left O'Bannon in the director's chair. So, Return of the Living Dead makes no secret of its inspiration. The movie opens with a teenager going to work in one of those supply houses that ship cadavers and skeletons to scientists, and in no time at all, the man runs a company, is leaning over the desk, and asks the kid if he's ever seen the Night of the Living Dead. Because it wasn't just a movie, it was the truth. But the government tried to cover it up, and he can prove it. Because they bottled up those zombies in airtight canisters, and they're down in a basement right now. So let's dig in, as we do to all these films, and we are going to list out the awesome parts, and we're going to list out the awful parts. Alright, awesome. Brains. All caps, with at least one exclamation point. Enough said. Another awesome element. This is horror comedy done well. Sure, not everything works well, but the parts that do outweigh the lame parts. Another awesome element, Tarman is pretty awesome. Another awesome element, the effects in general are done really well. Another awesome element, good or bad, the buffoonery of the film is classic. Things go from bad to worse. They kill one zombie, unleash the toxin into the air, and all hell breaks loose. Awesome. Way better than the sequels, but to be honest, the sequels are at best guilty pleasures for me. Not all of them are even remotely good films. 2 is decent, and the rest are interesting. Okay, another awesome element. These zombies talk. The much-loved send more paramedics scene. And of course, hence why they always say brains. Another awesome element. The film does a lot with its 91 minutes. There ends up being so much going on, and I'm not sure that any of it was really wasted. And another awesome element. I could not talk about Return of the Living Dead without mentioning Linnea Quigley. I've always celebrated what she had on me, the effect that she had on me when I was young, and how influential she is. You know, she's been influential in a lot of movies, and she's been in a ton of movies. And this one, to me, I know people will rank this in different orders. With Linnea Quigley, I think of Night of the Demons, and then I think of Return of the Dead. They actually came out in a different order, but most everybody thinks of her in this movie. My choice is definitely Night of the Demons is where I remember her mostly from. So with Linnea Quigley, sure, sometimes the lines are dry, but she popped up in so many of the great films in the 80s, playing trash in Return of the Living Dead. She actually shows full frontal nudity and proceeds to spend the rest of the film naked, after most of her clothes are conveniently left behind in a panic. Her zombie form is pretty awesome too. Alright, so now the awful elements to the film. as much as I hate to do it, I'm going to put Thom Mathews in this category because he's pretty bad. I have fond memories of him in Friday the 13th Part 6, so it's hard to hate on him. He was almost cringy in this movie a little bit. On top of Thom Mathews, some of the other acting is just bad. So again, take things with a grain of salt. We'll let that slide a little bit. And typically, I nitpick and talk about unfathomable storylines and movie mistakes, but to be honest, I can't ever go down that route with Return of the Living Dead. The crazy story is part of the charm. I already mentioned that some of the acting's really bad. So, as crazy as it sounds, I don't really have any other awful elements to the Return of the Living Dead, which leaves us with a verdict of awesome. Return of the Living Dead is definitely an awesome movie. To me, it's a must-see every couple of years. So a lot of hatred gets out there for this film because people watching it thinking it's a Romero film and then they start hating on it. People watch it for some of the bad acting and then they start hating on it. It's like watching Halloween 3 and hating it because you can't get over the fact that Michael Myers was not a part of it. So even for Return of the Living Dead more specifically, this is a spoof on Night of the Living Dead, a completely different movie. So if you think about it as a sequel to Night of the Living Dead, you will, or I guess at this point, Dawn of the Dead. No, it would have been Night of the Living Dead. But if you think of it as a sequel to that movie, you're definitely not gonna like it because you're not thinking about it in the right frame of mind. So, Return of the Living Dead, awesome. Very happy to report that. I was a little worried that I was gonna get down into the awful territory. All right. So that wraps this video up. Make sure you leave in your comments whether you think Return of the Living Dead is awesome or awful. I want to hear from you. So post your thoughts on this video. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you share this video. Make sure you subscribe. But most of all, make sure you keep it horror.